Hi, my name is Ken O'Sear. My presentation and paper were on creating the best learning environment for 21st century learners. So my objectives of this presentation are to provide you with some background of the given issue and also um, to provide some recommendations how to resolve the issue as an administrator. So the very first thing is, what am I talking about when I say 21st century learners? So we're talking about students who grew up with technology, and it's not necessarily that they can only learn with technology or that we need to do everything with technology. It's the fact of what is their mindset having grown up in an environment that technology is relied upon all the time. So the very first thing in the research said that they have shorter attention spans. Um, we need to move things along quicker, which technology can help with. Um, Also, one of the things that stood out to me is that there's a sense of competency that is inconsistent with their skill level. A lot of students think that because they can search something up online or find the information that they know how to do it or know that information, which isn't always necessarily the case. They need learning to be more of an active process rather than a passive one where they're just getting information from a teacher. They need autonomy. They need to create and make decisions on their own. And one of the biggest themes of this presentation is that really these students need to be cared for and respected by teachers and administrators alike. So the very first thing, creating an environment that is most beneficial for these types of students, we need to work with our teachers. Teachers need to be more facilitators. They need to facilitate experiences rather than just being the sole source of information. Again, we talked about the internet has everything that we're going to talk about in a middle or high school setting, uh, but the internet doesn't have experiences. And that's what teachers need to create. They need to create experiences for these students, and that's how these students will learn through those experiences. Teachers need to be leaders. We need to have teachers become leaders and become decision makers, help other teachers out, help students out, become active in that school process. Teachers need to be caring. We talked about it again. These students nowadays need that nurturing, need that caring environment. Uh, we need to show them respect. We need to treat them like they are co-workers. Obviously, we need to provide discipline and structure, uh, but we provide those things because we care for them. And last thing, the teachers need to be included in all the decision-making process. All the recommendations that I'm going to provide here upcoming uh, aren't possible if we don't include the teachers in them. If there's not buy-in from the teachers and the teacher leaders, all of our grand plans of changing the school environment and school culture are going to go down the tube. So we need to make sure that we include the teachers in all of these important decisions of the school. So I came up with 6 different general recommendations on how to create this environment. And the very first thing is professional development. And I know a lot of people roll their eyes when they say, okay, we need to do more professional development. And so a lot of times that is the case. Um, but I think one of the things that we need to really focus on in professional development is we need to get away from teaching teachers how to teach and focus more on how do students learn. The teaching will come after the fact, after we figure out how these students learn and what's the best way to connect with the students. Because after all, that's the main goal of teaching, is to get students to learn, not to be the best teacher, it's to get them to learn. The second thing is that digital learning culture. While technology isn't the end all be all with these students, we do need to make sure that we incorporate it in. Sometimes teaching is a little bit of entertaining, and that technology can entertain. It can make it more efficient when we have students who have shorter attention spans. Um, and we need to show and teach students how to be productive with technology. For the so-called tech generation, uh, they're not always very productive with technology. Sometimes they get caught up in other facets of it, where we need to make sure that we teach them how some of the technology can work and does work when they get into professional capacities. Third recommendation is whenever we have a shift in thinking, shift in education, as an administrator, it's going to make life a lot easier if we connect with parents, making sure that they are part of the decision-making process. An example that I used is my district has steering committees for curriculum where we're deciding the future with math teachers, our math curricular leader, administrators, about our direction of our curriculum. One of the things that would probably be beneficial is to have parents be on that committee as well, and tell them what we're thinking so they can communicate, we can communicate that we had parent involvement, and it'll make that decision making and that change process a lot easier to work with. We need to have teacher leadership for it to work. We need to have teachers be involved. We need to let teachers work with other teachers. We know that administrators can't be superhumans, but if we get the teachers on board, they will lead other teachers into making sure that they're on that same page, on that same mission of our school environment with the 21st century learners. And that doesn't happen by accident. We need to recruit teachers to be leaders. We need to give them opportunities to be leaders. And part of that comes with delegation, letting things go, identifying who those best leaders are, and who you can trust to help deliver the vision of what you're looking for in the school. The fifth recommendation is to use data. I know that's one of the buzzwords of education right now, and how do we use data in our teaching? At least in my district, we have access to a ton of data. It's all over the place, but how much teaching and instruction actually gets changed because of it, that I'm not so sure, because we don't really have time to dive into the data and look at all of it and really process it into adjusting our curriculum. So one of the things that I'm proposing is having some sort of cohort meeting once a week, either during prep hours or after school time, where you can really look at the data throughout that week and then be able to make adjustments as you're going along rather than after the fact, after it's too late and for the next class. So hopefully it's creating those adjustments while we're still able to for that group of students. One way that I would do this is try to get prep hours to be the same for certain cohort members. So for example, in my school there's 5 Algebra 1 teachers. Getting those 5 teachers to have the same prep hour, having all 5 global history teachers have the same prep hour, all 5 English teachers having the same prep hour, and then making a point once a week, even if it's only for 10 or 15 minutes, looking at some sort of data that you've collected over that week, some sort of consistent data. And then not only will having the same prep hour be useful for that, but then you can also have common planning and really let that teacher leadership shine. And the last thing is just creating a positive culture of praise. So we talked about caring being a big issue. Not only do students need to be cared for, but also teachers. Creating a system of praise that immediately gives teachers feedback on what's positive, on what's successful, because teachers get their direction from the administrator on what constitute as success in their eyes, and that's what they're aiming for. And it's important for teachers to set up an appraisal system of students to get that immediate praise of how do we get them to act and react how we like is we praise when they do a good job and we discipline when they don't. And that's a good thing, and we want to focus on the positive and praising of that. And those are my recommendations for that 21st century learning environment.